Hello and welcome to the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Johnstone, and I have an incredible offer for you today. What we've done is we've taken the 10 most profitable methods to grow your mortgage business that we have learned from interviewing the producers on this podcast, many of whom are doing over $100 million in volume per year. And we've packaged them together into a condensed 45-minute training where you get to learn the 10 most successful and profitable activities that you should be running in your mortgage business. Then we show you how to automate those processes with people and systems so that they run and continue to produce loan applications and new partners that want to send you business pre-booked into your calendar without you having to do any cold calls or chasing or really any work. It's a blueprint for you to be able to produce more in your business while actually working less. And you can go get that training today for free at chriswebinar.com. That's chriswebinar.com. So make sure you head over there today, grab that training for free, and make sure that you watch it, because the sooner you get started on implementing these strategies, the sooner you can see results and continue to grow your mortgage business. Thank you again for being here with us for this episode, and enjoy another one on the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast. We are absolutely blessed to be here with Laura Brandao. Thank you so much for being on the call and the podcast today.
It is truly a pleasure, Chris. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So for our listeners that don't potentially know about you yet, although I'm sure you'll have some fans on the show, could you give us just like a brief history of how you got into the industry and where you're at now and what you're working on?
Absolutely. So I've been a lifelong career of the mortgage industry. Got into it when I was only 21 years old by accident when I needed to work in the evening because I was a young mom. The role that I took on was telemarketing for a mortgage company. So that was my very first entry into that wonderful industry. I was very successful at it. And after a few months, I decided that I wanted to purchase a home too, because I was calling all of these homeowners. And so I knocked on the door of the vice president of that company. And I said, how do I get to earn more? And he said, well, why don't you stay late and run some reports? Well, I ran some reports, but I didn't just run them. I actually analyzed them, and I actually gave recommendations for the sales team. Next thing you know, I was promoted. By the time I left that company after 5 years, I was running the entire company. After that, I went into a mortgage company and I became the sales leader, and they couldn't keep up with all the sales from my division. So I taught myself operations. And within 3 months, I became the COO of that company at the age of 27. In 2007, when the industry was crashing, I said, wow, what am I going to do? I'm afraid the company I'm at is going to go out of business. And I was given an opportunity to start a wholesale division of a company that only had about 20 people at the time. One product, FHA, FICO scores down to 500, broker only. No salary, no benefits, 100% commission. And I said, yes, I will do that. I took that company to be a top 10 lender. That company was AFR Wholesale. I became the president. I am still an owner of that company. And after 15 years, I decided I needed a new challenge. So now I am a partner at EPM. I'm also their chief growth officer, and I am the new CEO of their specialty division, Lighthouse Lending Capital.
And sorry, just because you hit me with it. So what is Lighthouse Capital Lending? What is
So
that?
Lighthouse Lending Capital is going
Thank
to
you.
be the specialty division of EPM. So we will be doing, I would say, the more challenging loans, things like one-time close construction, things like chattel lending, private lending options like the fix and flips and the ITIN loans and things like that. Eventually, like reverse mortgages, all of the things that are a little more, time consuming and a little more of the specialty stuff, so that way it doesn't get mixed with the regular types of loans.
Got it. That's exciting, and I think soon to be booming business. So that's congratulations.
Thank you.
So, man, you've run the gamut and some incredible experience in the industry. And right now in the mortgage industry, we're going through some pretty big changes. And you've navigated some of those changes previously. So, I would love to know your insights on what you're telling loan officers right now, what you're telling branch managers on how to adapt to these changes and really what they need to be focused on right now.
Yeah, well, you just used the right word, Chris.
Hmm.
So do you know, and I'll give you the answer, but the number one skill for success, number one skill is adaptability.
Hmm.
See, it's very easy to be successful when everything is in your favor, when the
Yep.
rates are very low, when plenty of properties are out there for people to buy, whatever, right? It's very easy to be successful during those times. But when things shift, when interest rates go up, when there aren't as many homes available, when, inflation is as high as it is, whatever the change is, when the entire subprime lending is crashing. I mean, I went through that too. When those things are happening, you have a choice. You go inward and you kind of go, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. And what I was doing before isn't going to work or get me through this. Or I'm just going to use myself as the example. I go, woohoo, this is the best time in the world to make a change because this is opportunity. So my biggest advice to everyone out there right now is number one, it's time to adapt. Number two, it is time to get out there and be as loud as you possibly can. And what does that mean by being loud? That means you should be all over social media. You should be out there meeting and greeting and shaking hands and getting to know. You should be investing in your communities. You should be getting your face, your name, your company, everything that you do and why you are special over and over and over. You're not doubling down. You're quadrupling down. You're going out gangbusters because this is your time to separate yourself. Because when times get tough like this, people get quiet.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't go quiet and the people that make themselves known, number one, everyone looks to the leader. People can tell the leader that sits in the room, the minute they walk in that room, the minute they appear on that camera, they can tell who the leader is. We need you, Mr. or Mrs. Loan Officer, to be the leader for your realtors, for your referral partners, for your families and borrowers that you serve. That's what you need to be doing.
I could not agree more. That is so well said. And we see so much in the industry of lenders actually on social media talking about how bad rates are and what's going on with rates. And it's like, no, now is a great time to buy a house. Now is time to actually look at, hey, 2 years ago, had you bought a home, you're still up. And, market specific, but there's so much positivity out there and there's so much that we can shine a light on because this is, again, so the largest grouping of humans ever, the millennials.
Yes.
It's been so difficult for them to get into the housing market. New headline news for 2 years. Now here's an entry point into the marketplace. And I don't think I've seen more than 2 lenders actually do the math and show millennials how this might be the entry point that they've been waiting for.
It is. I mean, it's phenomenal. This is the time. I mean, I'm watching, of course, I'm watching the real estate markets and I'm seeing so many price reduction, seller concessions available, right? Now realtors are accepting DPAs again, right? The opportunities are there. The grant programs are there, but this all takes education. This all takes communication. That's why it's time for every originator to be out there saying, I'm your guy, I'm your gal, I'm here, I'm the expert. I'm going to navigate you through this market. And this is the time. Like you said, how many years, the last couple of years, we've been hearing, yeah, I know you've put in 50 offers and you're discouraged. I know that, you keep getting beat out by cash offers. If you're reading the news, all of those, they're all pulling out. All of the corporate companies that were out there buying the properties, they're pulling out. They're retreating. Now is the time for the regular families to get in there.
That's so true. And I mean, I'm a marketing guy, so my head immediately twists. Like, who kept a database of the people that just burnt out? Like, where are your pre-approved and lookings right now? Are you calling those people? Are you sharing the good word? There's lots of benefit and business to be done out there just in your database. Just in
That's
your
correct.
database of making that positive communication. Now, the other side of that is their referral networks. There are so many realtors, financial planners, investment advisors that want positivity to give out in the marketplace. And if you're that lender that's out there giving that message of positivity, all of a sudden you've got virality. You've got people actually willing to share that message out there for you right now. So,
Yeah, and remember what I said about people are looking for the leaders. They
yes.
want to listen to someone. So you have a choice. Right now, we know the negativity is out there. It's easy, right? It's easy to see the negative, but the positivity is what people are going to be drawn to. So
Yeah.
you have this opportunity. Again, it's about education. People don't necessarily need to hear everything is roses and unicorns and rainbows. That's not what people need to hear. What they need to hear is education and accuracy of giving people information. We know that a recession is coming. We know that everything is in cycles. Guys, listen, we're 2 years overdue a recession because the normal cycle was 10 years, but we got pushed because of COVID. This is normal. Guess what? I'll give you the news. 10 years from now, you're going to be in the same boat. So
Yeah.
we need to look at the cycles and we need to look at the fact that everything comes in waves. So that's why you should have been taking care of that CRM, making sure you're keeping those relationships. Now's the time, educate, get the word out, take people by the hand because they will follow and they will stick with you, but you can't go small. It's not the time.
Yeah, I could not agree more. One of the services that we offer to mortgage professionals is we will call their database for them. We have concierge agents that make those phone calls. And now more than ever, we're having people saying, thank you so much for calling. We have questions because they're just getting bombarded with news and we're industry experts. We know how to filter our way through it somewhat, but you take your average consumer, they just want to ask questions and talk to somebody. And now's the opportunity where you can be there for those people. That builds lifelong relationships.
Chris, it's so funny you say that. Whenever I travel, the minute I get in the back of any Uber, the people always say, oh, where are you going? And I'm always going to a work conference or something, right? And I've had some of the best conversations with Uber drivers that want to ask me questions like, is it a good time to refinance? Is it a good time to buy a house? Should I be looking to do this? Like, what about a renovation loan? And I've had more great conversations in the back of an Uber to the point I want to take a phone out and like record it, right? Because they're great sessions, right? But the point is what you just said. People, they do want to ask those questions. They do want a professional mortgage person to be able to give them advice and make them feel comfortable that they can have those conversations. Be that person.
Absolutely. Now, so you have a number of books out there, and you have also been nominated, I believe, 4 times as a woman of influence by MBA in the mortgage industry. And I know that you're a huge fan of yes, or the concept of yes. So I wanted to make sure that we had that as part of our conversation. Now's probably a good segue. So can you, first off, explain to our listeners what the concept of yes is, and then maybe share with us some stories about how that's helped change your life?
Okay, so I'll actually tell you where it started because we have to start with where did it even begin? So I explained quickly my career. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to 2018. And in 2018, I was the COO of the company that I was a partner at. And literally, I worked from 6 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night and just head down in an office, with my team. Okay. And I loved it, loved every minute. But 2018 was the last time we had margin compression, like what we're experiencing right now. Okay. So I was trying to figure out how do I double our volume in a way to be able to make the same money you were making back when margins were better. Okay. And one day I got a phone call from a conference promoter and they were like, Laura, we'd like you to come and speak at a conference. Now, Chris, I had never left my desk, literally never left my desk. Okay. For all those years, I was just tied to the desk. So I said yes, because I thought, well, I can get business. I can go and meet brokers. I can have conversations. I can get business. Well, about 3 weeks before the conference, literally I was having a panic attack of there is no way I can get up in front of this group of people. Well, that person told me he wasn't taking no for an answer, that he saw something in me. And he's like, Laura, you're doing this. And so I flew to California and I got up on the stage. And after I did what I was there to do, I had a line of women waiting to come speak to me. I was like, what's this about? And those women thanked me for getting up on the stage and being the only woman executive up on the stage. And they said they never get to see women doing that. It's always men. And in that moment, Chris, a light bulb went off in my head. And I decided I will never let fear ever stop me from doing something again, because maybe I would have not created a ripple to allow those women to be inspired to where they can go and do additional things if I had let fear hold me back to say no.
Yes.
So I decided that for 1 year, I would say yes to opportunities. Someone asked me to be on a podcast. Someone asked me to write an article in a magazine. Someone asked me to write in a book. If someone asked me to speak on a stage, whatever it was, I said yes to it. Everything changed, Chris. I was promoted to the president of the company. I was on board of directors for the MBA. I became on board of directors for Silicon Valley tech companies. I became chairs of NAMBA programs. I became the chair of the Women with Vision program. On and on and on and on. And so by changing my mindset, now correct me if I'm wrong here, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not telling people to say yes to everything. I did it as an experiment, but what I will tell everyone to do is to keep your mind open, to never let fear hold you back, and be open to live every single day to the maximum. Because staying in that comfort zone and not allowing yourself to truly fulfill your purpose, you will only have regrets.
Yep. It's so my father-in-law has a wonderful saying, you never regret the things you do.
That's right.
That is so powerful. Now, in doing that and saying yes and going into those opportunities, like we speak to so many loan officers that won't talk to realtors. And if you really drive into it, it's because they're scared of getting rejected over the phone.
Right.
Or they won't call their past clients, or they won't go to those networking meetings, or they won't do the lunch and learns because there is that fear there. So other than just saying yes, do you now have like a framework where you feel that fear, and because you've been through it so many times that you have like a framework that you use to get through it?
So I will tell you that I use the fact that I look for the person in those settings that feels the most uncomfortable. Take us back to being in grammar school, where you're walking with your little tray in the cafeteria, and maybe you don't know where you can sit because you feel awkward.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I go and I do any of these whatever it is, networking event, speaking somewhere that I don't know anyone, but whatever, right? Whatever it is, I look for the easiest tip off, look for the person on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the minute you see someone on their phone, they're usually, unless they're like having a conversation about a deal or something, right? But if they're just, look for the person on the phone and go up to them. More than likely, they're on the phone because they feel very awkward and they have no idea how to start a conversation.
Yep.
And they're literally dreading saying, I need to get the heck out of here because I feel like an idiot.
Yep.
Go to that person. And I promise you that in time, you can actually have a really big crowd of no joke, you have to see me work this in a room, because I just keep pulling other people on their phone into the group.
Right.
And you can wind up having a bigger group of people that were awkward than the popular crowd.
Right.
And it's all based on everyone feels awkward at times. Every conversation you have, whether it's calling that past client, don't go into it thinking that you're selling them. Don't go into it thinking that you're interrupting them. Think about, like, I'll give you an example. Just this weekend, I went through my phone to my lowest text messages, right? And I just started texting every person that was at the bottom of my text message list, thinking of you, hope you're having a fabulous weekend. That was it. That's all I said. Chris, do you know how many people called me and said, I've been thinking about you too. Can we have a call? There's a couple things I want to catch up on. You know what? I know that you recently changed companies. I want to hear what's going on, where you are. All I said was, thinking of you, hope you're having a good week.
And everybody tries to complicate it with, like, what's the perfect script for reaching out to a realtor? Just like, hey man, what's up? Hope you're well.
That's it.
You know?
That's it. Hope you're having a great day.
That's amazing.
Now, I will also say, Chris, what you're doing, okay? And it just happened to me. So here's a perfect example, right? What we're doing right now, every originator in the whole country needs to have a podcast. Every single one. I don't care who you are, needs to have a podcast. And it just happened to me before I jumped on here. Just got a message on LinkedIn from someone, because I have a podcast I've been doing for a few years called What's Your Why Wednesday. Yes. And I just got a message, hey, a friend of mine was telling me about your podcast and I would love to be on your podcast. This is someone that can become a client of mine. This is someone that I can do business with. He reached out to me in order to be on my podcast. And then I'm going to have an opportunity to have a conversation with her and learn all about her after we record. Everyone needs to have a podcast. And then you reach out to the realtor and you say, Chris, I've been watching you on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, Instagram, TikTok. You are amazing. I would love to have you on my podcast. There's no awkward conversation there.
Nah.
Because they're going to feel honored, they're going to feel special, and they're going to say yes.
That's so powerful. And if you think about that from that local marketing perspective, you could be featuring a realtor a week on your podcast, of just like, because the market is constantly changing. You've constantly got content to talk about. There's constantly listings, and that's what the market wants. The market wants to hear about real estate. They want to hear about the houses, and you can be the lighthouse for that content.
Exactly.
That's incredible. So getting, I guess, more tactical for mortgage lenders that are here, like the recording of a podcast or leaning into the database and the past customers and the realtors, like what do you, in your leadership role, what are you coaching loan officers to be doing right now to make sure that they're still healthy and that business is still good?
I believe it's all about action. It's all about activity. From what I see, it's actually funny. I was meeting with one of my people that reports to me, one of my direct reports, and he was showing me a report of his team and the activities. It's mind blowing. Like, he has it monitored all through the CRM, and he monitors each of his team. And this particular report, it was mind blowing. It was like 450 actions to get 8 applications. Now I know that's like, what? 450 actions to get 8 applications? Well, yes. The answer is yes. That's what it took. It took that much activity. So at the end of the day, there is no magic secret wand that anybody can bring out and provide it. But at the end of the day, the more action and the more activity that you are doing, the more applications that are going to come in. Now, out of that 450, that's just this week. That's going to multiply. Like, that's this week. Now, those 450, it's going to carry over, right? And each week, you're going to have seedlings that blow from that 450. But the biggest trick is, don't allow it that all of a sudden those seedlings come and then you stop. This has to be constant activity, because we know activity results come from that action.
That's so I call a lot of people that I know call that the loan officer roller coaster. Like you do the activities when it's slow,
And
you
then you
call the
stop.
realtors, and then you stop doing it, so your pipeline dries up, and then you're back where you're at. So our concierge agents, when you talk about massive action, just to share with our listeners, like our
Yes.
concierge agents will make an average of between 100 to 150 phone calls a day. That means that they speak to anywhere between 30 to 35 people on average. And our average is we book 5 qualified appointments a day.
There you go.
It's not rocket science. But I can tell you somebody who makes 20 calls and somebody who makes 120 calls, they're going to have different businesses.
That's right.
It's just the activity to it. I love the way that you made that just so simple.
That's it. It really is not complicated. It really isn't. And it's so funny because like with my example I gave about the cycle, all of this stuff is the same.
Yeah.
You might have a different vessel. Okay, so you want to sprinkle in some social media, then you want to sprinkle in some FaceTime, and have some one-on-one time. So I believe you can have different strategies. I don't think you have to be limited to one versus another.
Yeah.
I think the combination of all of this is the best way to go. But the trick to it is action. You
Yes.
have to actually do something, and therefore the results will come. We know a recession is coming. We know the rates are going to come down. This window, I'm gonna tell you everyone out there right now, the window of opportunity is small. And I'm saying that, I know everybody's like, oh, it's tough, it's difficult. No. You don't understand. Right now is your best time to get busy because that window is going to be very small. Because all of a sudden, once that window closes and the rates come down and the refi opportunities are there, that's fabulous. But guess what? Your hard work has to be done now.
Yes.
Not then.
Mhm.
Now is when the hard work has to be done. So get busy now and you will reign later.
Absolutely. That's absolutely incredible. So, Laura, that's a powerful episode. I always look for at least 3 takeaways, and we're far past that now. But you have so much value to give. I mentioned the books. Where do people go to find out more? How can people reach out to you? What's the best way?
Absolutely. So connect to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. It's my name. Even my website is laurabrandao.com. So you're welcome
Awesome.
to go that way. So all of that you can find out everything that I'm up to. And connect to me. I'm all over social all the time. So I'd love to meet everyone.
That is amazing. Well, again, thank you for being so generous with your time, and thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. All the best, everyone. You got this.
Hey, it's Chris. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed our guest today on the podcast. This is a reminder that we have just finished taking the greatest lessons from all of our guests and packaging them together into a brief online video presentation that's going to teach you the 10 most profitable ways to grow your mortgage business. And then we show you how to automate those processes in your business with people and systems so that you get the results without you having to do the work every day. This is quite literally a blueprint so that you walk into your mortgage business every day with pre-booked appointments with borrowers that want to meet with you and referral partners that want to send you business so that you are spending your time inside your mortgage business on the highest dollar per hour activities, and you truly become the executive of your business, a true business owner, rather than just somebody who's going to a job every day and making a wage on the way through. This is an absolutely incredibly powerful training for you, and I cannot wait for you to experience it. So head on over to chriswebinar.com. That's chriswebinar.com to get that free training today. Now, if you could do me another favor, if you enjoyed this episode, please head on over to iTunes, search the Loan Officer Wealth Podcast, and give us a 5-star rating and review, really on any podcast platform that you're watching this on. That just 30 seconds of your time goes to help another loan officer in the industry discover this information and really help put their life and their business on track for more success. We are all in this together, and there is more than enough for all of us in the industry. So I would love if you left us that 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to stay tuned for our next episode, and I'll see you then.